I'd like to introduce you to Dinesh Nagarajan from IBM Consulting. Dinesh is going to be talking to you about why securing AI is a business imperative. Over to you, Dinesh.
Thanks, Dan, for the very kind words. I have to say that I represent a bigger team in IBM who actually do all the cool stuff. I'm here just pretty much, saying what they're actually doing. So just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Dinesh Nagarajan. I'm a partner in IBM Consulting, cybersecurity services. I lead what we call as data and AI security practice, and also the quantum safe practice globally for IBM, based in the UK. So we'll start with this session on why securing AI is business imperative. It sounds very simple, sounds like a no-brainer. But unfortunately, it's not always the case. It's interesting as we go around. So what we would like to do is to give you a perspective of more from a security context, but also give from slightly a business context of what's happening on AI. What are the things that's impacting? What are the threats? What are the risks that you see? And share a bit about how IBM's approaching it, IBM Consulting is approaching it, how our experience with few clients, and also talk about how IBM and Palo Alto are collaborating in this space and what that means to you, from your journey standpoint, right? So we start with understanding, what's happening on the AI space, right? So, this is a report that I pulled out from our IBM Institute of Business Value Research. So it's interesting. I think they did a research. They spoke to about 7,000 exec. An IBM Institute of Business Research, we call IBV, they put out a lot of very, very interesting studies. I'm not sure how many of you have actually read through them, but I would encourage them if you're interested. There is a link in there if you want to get through the full report. But there are three things that stand out. So this is a 5 trends, right? This is a technology trend of 2026. And if you actually look at it, 3 of them are AI related. No surprise, but it's interesting some of the data points that they picked up on, right? So the first one is, and I'll touch on the quantum side of things as well. The first one is employees will want more AI and not less. I think this is not a surprise to most of you. Everyone, I'll be very surprised if anyone in this room has not used AI for your day-to-day work, be it composing emails or putting together some documents or synthesis analysis and so on. But I think what is interesting is that there is a general fear about AI in a lot of different industries of whether it'll replace jobs and it'll impact and so on. But I think what is really encouraging to see is a lot of employees use AI and actually appreciate the use of AI for their day-to-day job. I think that's essentially how I'm reading this, right? So, and also I think there's a very, slightly interesting angle to this is they are also being comfortable being managed by one. But what that means is, I think this survey very specifically asked questions to those execs about if there is an agent that is going to, send you instructions to do work, would you be comfortable working with an agent and, collaboratively, but also taking some instruction to do that? And apparently, nearly 50% said they'll be comfortable being managed by one. So it's an interesting kind of a dynamic of how this is going, right? The other one is, I think it's more about customers, right? The second one, over 95% say consumer trust in AI is, very important for their success of the products. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of, let's say, missteps, if you like, on a lot of organizations going headlong into including or infusing AI into their products and services and then learning a very painful lesson. They've taken the wrong approach or they've not necessarily looked at the problem the right way and so on. So a lot of those experience, what that means is there's a lack of trust from the consumer if they have not really taken the right step forward in including AI in the right way, right? So that's one of the things that's an interesting part. And the other interesting one is 4 in 5 consumers say they would, trust a brand less if intentionally concealed AI's involvement. So what they're saying, what they're basically saying is, if you are using AI in your services, be open and transparent and do let your customers know that you are using AI. I think they would like to see that you're actually telling them that this chatbot or this service includes the use of AI in some form or the other. And if that information is not provided upfront, there are customers who may look at it and say, well, I don't really trust this brand. I have no idea what they're trying to do. They're not being transparent and so on, right? I know, I think we are looking, we're having this conversation in UK, but in Europe, they have a lot more stringent requirement in accountability and responsibility and transparency and explainability on AI, right? There's a very highly regulatory driven, but it's fair to say a lot of people are now still looking at this more like a project that we need to do, but we don't necessarily disclose or being transparent for their end customers. And I think the other one, the last one, is global AI resilience will require a safety net. So this is interesting, right? I think sovereignty has become a big topic now. People are talking about digital sovereignty. People are talking about infrastructure. And there is a whole different wave of activities being looked at. AI sovereignty is also part of that story. And I think it's very important from an overall resiliency standpoint. If you are looking to build, if you're relying on AI to build some critical business processes, whether you're currently running them or looking to launch new capabilities, then you really need to understand where that AI is used, where it's hosted, who's managing it, you have control over it, what data is being used. And that is essentially, in a certain way, what sovereignty actually means, right? So it's critically important to consider that as part of your strategy. Yes, it's very tempting to go and pick I don't want to call it the cheapest AI service, the most convenient AI service to spin up a quick business application or innovation or whatever that you're trying to do. But you really need to think about, are you in control? How are you going to manage it going forward? Because as we all know, there is a geopolitical situation that's happening. There was a data center that was attacked. And I think one of the hyperscalers was completely taken out, and that impacted a whole bunch of other services, right? So it's opened up more awareness in the space. It's not like everyone is going to want to try sovereignty tomorrow, but it's something to think about. It's something to appreciate. Does it factor into your resilience? Because if you don't take that into consideration, you sometimes could be in a nasty surprise of some geopolitical situation or something else that impacts you, right? So just 3 things to look at from the trends, and there's a lot of other fascinating additional details that we may not have time for going through today. But the other one I want to talk about is the quantum advantage that's coming through, right? So it's interesting. There is a lot of organizations have taken steps towards quantum, looking at experimenting or looking at developing some specific models to leverage the current quantum computing capabilities to solve some problems. And there's some 4 different areas that's crystallized where they clearly see value and they clearly see outcome that quantum can provide a distinct advantage to their business. I think it's simulation, and then there are 3 other areas that are there. Not to spend too much time on it, but I know Scott's going to talk about how you secure in quantum. We are all security professionals. We care about the security and element and topic, but there's also the other side of quantum, which is all about bringing benefits and business side of things. And we think that 2026, or at least the report says that 2026 is an area where clients will be able to do demonstrable proof of value in using quantum computing, right? So that's just want to share this perspective, but also more importantly, I think looking at AI from a business context, how AI uses evolving and what that means for us from a security context. So at the same time, we also have some risks that we need to look at. So this is again a small extract from IBM X-Force Threat Intelligence Index 2026 report. So they publish, X-Force Threat is similar to the Palo Alto Unit 42. They publish a lot of threat intelligence every year, annually. They go and do a research. They look at the dark web. They look at attack patterns, breaches, and collect a whole bunch of information. We just picked one of they again have a lot of trends. We just picked the one related to AI. And it's very interesting that they found out that over 300,000 ChatGPT credentials were available on the dark web for sale, or it's accessible and easily and so on. Look, this is not to shoot down ChatGPT or any other publicly available chatbot, but I think it needs to be understood that if where the business is focused on to transform their day-to-day business, are looking to innovation or looking at where they are looking to drive commercial elements, the threat actors will start focusing in that space. So there's no surprise that AI will become their top 1 or 2 areas to focus, because that's what everyone's, every business is looking to leverage it. So whatever they can find, whatever vulnerability they can find on a chatbot, whatever security loophole they can find, they'll exploit it because they realize that that's the fastest way to get there, right? So again, I think it's a quick sort of reminder about the unfortunate issues, security issues that could come out as a result of using ChatGPT. And then we have a few more, right? So I'll talk about a couple of things that really caught my eyes, at least. This is just a collection. There are a few which are been there in the public domain. There are a few very latest. Like, for example, McKinsey is an interesting scenario. I'm sure some of you have read it, where there is a red teaming company, which means they are in the business of breaking systems down and understanding security threats and so on. So they have it's called a code wall. They've developed an AI agent which goes and finds and breaks things. It simulates like a pen tester or an attacker. So they had used one of that to go after McKinsey's AI platform, and actually they were able to break in. Now, I don't know about the claims of whether they were able to do it in 2 hours, but the key is they broke into the McKinsey platform and they had full access to the data of which the AI had access to. So they had access to all the data in clear text, information, all the research data, which McKinsey would be selling for hundreds and thousands of pounds. And all of that information was exposed within a time. So what this brings is, going back to the previous slide, and this is, I think everyone's using AI, but also what they're actually not necessarily looking at is, while using AI, you're also exposing your business to all the risk that AI brings with it. Yes, AI has got a tremendous amount of value that it can do. It can increase productivity. It can speed up your processes. It can automate. It can give you an amazing user experience. But what you're actually doing inadvertently is inherent risk, as you're exposing your business data, your processes, which you otherwise wouldn't have done, right? So AI is a sort of a new vector that isn't necessarily apparent. Now, this is more the business teams who are doing that. They probably love to do all of that innovation. But from a security context, it is to be understood that these vectors are new, and that's one of the things that is opening up exposure. The second one is very interesting, right? So the Air Canada, they basically had a chatbot which was basically helping fulfill, buying, tickets. And Air Canada had a scheme where they were giving specific discounts to customers. One very clever, I don't think he's an attacker, he's just a customer, managed to circumvent the business rules of how the discounts are issued. So discounts are not given to everyone. You need a certain qualification to get that discount. But he managed to circumvent and made the chatbot commit to providing a discount to him. And he was about to go and buy the ticket. Air Canada actually refused it, saying, well, actually, you don't qualify for it. He said, no, your chatbot committed that. But then it went to court, I believe, and then he won the case because, they have to honor it, right? So it's also to think about that. I mean, in our world, we call it jailbreaking. So you would create a chatbot or an application in AI with some business rules, right? You will only qualify for this, or you need to have rules that says you can only appreciate what the work that the customer needs to do. But you need to appreciate that that same business rules can be very easily broken in the AI if you don't build good security practice, or you don't have a way to control, if you have the right controls in that space. So the impact to Air Canada may not have been very high. I mean, they lost the case. There's a bit of a reputational damage, but it could be so much more in that context, right? So it's something to think about from that standpoint. There's a lot of other, high-profile breaches that's happened, and I think this trend is going to only continue. It's not going to change as more and more AI is being built across every other industry sectors. They are essentially, to a certain extent, increasing the level of exposure of their confidential sensitive data or their business processes that could be broken, and we expect that there's going to be more breaches coming through, right? Look, this is not to scare you or tell you. I know most of you are security professionals, but I think it's important to appreciate this is the real world. This is not a hypothesis, not a theory. It's happening as we speak, right? So more risk. So I think one of the purpose of this slide is I think AI itself is changing at a phenomenal speed. I think it's fair to say that security is not catching up anywhere near, right? So what you see on the left are what we call as current Gen AI threats and risk, right? Some of these risks are, maybe some of them are hypothetical, but some of them are potentially risks that are impacting customers in what we saw in the last two slides. But on the right-hand side, you have more emerging threats and risks. And I wouldn't even call it emerging. When we created this slide, we thought it was emerging, but we know now there are lots of agents, AI agents out there in production. So it's not even emerging. It's how we would say it's actually current and real risk. There was a very interesting stat on the AI agent part that somebody was sharing. So we were in Mobile World Congress last week, and one of the research analysts, this is not IBM or Palo Alto, this came from a research analyst. So he said, in the next 3 years, there'll be more AI agents than the number of people on planet Earth. Now, again, it's not an IBM or a Palo story. I'm happy to share for anyone that's interested. That was a bit of a shock, but then there was one of our consultants in IBM who was showing to a client how easy it is to create an agent today. You don't need, I'm careful if I'm saying this, you don't need a very savvy person to do it, right? Let's take Copilot. Again, not shooting down Copilot here, but Copilot, it's all great for Microsoft, right? They make it so easy to create an agent. It's few clicks. A user or a person in finance can create it. A person in marketing can create it. It is so simple, so easy, and gives so much advantage and benefits. But then what happens is over a period of time, you're going to have a lot of these agents in the enterprise with little to no control, or in some cases, invisible to the security team. We have no idea what that agent is. And all these agents could be exploited. There's a vulnerability that was released on the Microsoft platform on agents. You can use that vulnerability to break into an agent, and therefore you get access to that user's data, right? But some of these things are happening as it is. It's not an emerging risk, but it's a threat. One of the other things is the way the industry is moving towards is more autonomy, if you like, on AI systems. They are fully empowered to run end-to-end of a business process or fulfill a business process, take decisions, learn from data, and use that data to apply a specific action and so on, right? So that presents a whole bunch of other challenges and issues, right? So I think it's fair to say that we in security are faced with a challenge where a part of our business or most of the business are running forward at 200 miles an hour speed and embracing AI, the latest and the greatest, and we're grappling with trying to understand how do we control, how do we manage, and so on, right? So thankfully, I'm going to cover that part as well. But I think it's good to appreciate what's happening on the security space. So we put together this chart more to understand how do we synthesize all of this? What is businesses doing with AI, right? One is fascinating thing is, this is a snapshot of AI use cases, right? So what you see on the top, what we call as a vertical use case, by that what we mean is that we know that every other department in an organization is looking to use AI to improvise their existing process. So let's take customer service. We know, and IBM itself is in the task of doing that. We've transformed a lot of clients' customer service where nearly 40% of their calls are handled by a chatbot. It's no more a human, and it does everything, right? Like the Air Canada example, it takes in a call, tries to understand what the customer request is, and then can also go forward and help them actually fulfill a query, right? So you have these AI being used in the vertical use case. Essentially, AI is going to be, not to say constrained, but it's going to be well within the parameters of that business process. Usually it doesn't go beyond it, but if you're bringing agentic AI, it changes that. But that has its own security requirements, security implications. It's typically business sponsored. There is a proper program structure to drive those vertical use cases. It is not a science experiment. It's usually confined within a normal project governance or organization governance and so on. And then you have the horizontal use case, right? So the horizontal use case is everyone who's getting access to publicly available AI. Now, we know we talked about ChatGPT, but I'm pretty sure some of our colleagues, my colleagues in IBM, we use some 7, 8 different publicly available AI to do lots of things. There's one that creates beautiful point of views, right? If you have several documents, you put that into the AI, and it just comes up with an amazing point of view. There's one that creates a visual-like diagrams, architecture diagrams. We all love architecture diagrams. It's an AI for doing that, right? So I think we need to appreciate that it's like exploding, right? But all your employees have access to the AI. What are they doing? They're unfortunately taking confidential, sensitive documents, not just of an enterprise, in case your customer data, your PII data, is all shared to actually to create something new. Where it could be an architecture which has very confidential data, IP address, and so on, or it could be very confidential M&A documents, which was actually a real-world situation where we did a scan of an organization trying to see what AI is your employees doing. There were people putting out M&A data into that just for the sake of cleaning up something and like a grammar and other stuff. It was, I think it's a lack of understanding or appreciation across the organization and using AI. There's also a bit of an educational lack of awareness in doing that. But this is a problem. We think that most CISOs always, this is something that it's not an IBM point of view. Most CISOs tell us, we know some data has already gone out of the door because everyone's using the AI. Every one of my employees is using AI, and that's a problem for me. And I need to, stop this. I don't necessarily have the right tool. I don't have visibility of what is being used, what is not being used. And also, I think most of my employees don't understand that some of these data can be used again, right? There was an example shared by another ISV, an independent software vendor, who was telling us about a good story. They said, hey, we went looking into one of the publicly available AI program. And one of their developers found out that it can generate a McKinsey-like report, word for word, structure for structure, and exactly like that. Now, I'm sure McKinsey must be charging a huge amount of money for it. And I'm picking McKinsey example, bear with me. I'm sure there's a problem with other consulting companies as well. But what they found is they can generate the report. It can generate the report, pretty much every structure, the kind of wording they use, the way they show the values and all that. Like for it, he said, I can generate a McKinsey-like report. I can ask the ChatGPT. What may have happened is some junior analyst in McKinsey possibly has gone and put some documents into that AI, and it's learned how to do that. And that's the risk you're facing. So what McKinsey potentially has a potential revenue loss where they cannot go to a client. Now this has become wildfire. Everyone's talking about it. Everybody knows about it. They can't go to a client and say, hey, we can do this report for you. They'll say, no, I'll use the AI. I don't need to pay you £100,000 for doing that. Just as an example, right? It just shows what could happen, which would come back and hit your business potentially, right? Something to worry about. But also, I think we use this information primarily from a CISO standpoint to say, look, you got to approach security in a slightly different way. How do you secure AI is no more I think it's one of my top 3 things to do. You got to do it because your business or organization is already losing confidential data in the current context of things. So we kind of crafted some of these questions as a CISO, okay, fine, I get the risk. I understand there is a problem, but where do I start? What are the things I need to think about? What are the things that matters? What is others doing who have managed to get some governance around AI, and what are the things that they need to look at, right? I think there are a couple of things that we know that a lot of people are looking at. One is visibility and control of your sensitive data. While you're looking at AI security, there's also an element of data security that comes into place. If you do have a very poor data security posture, you can do certain things on AI, but it may not necessarily give you all the required control you need in your enterprise, right? So that's something that's an interesting part of it. The other interesting thing, I think one of the things is AI literacy itself. How many of your employees actually understand what AI is out there and what AI use of that AI means that to your organization or to your data or whatever you're sharing to that AI, right? This is going back to the horizontal use case. So I think that's part of the an education, even from a CISO standpoint. Some of the CISO itself don't understand what's happening in their business. They don't have a visibility of it. That's something that as a very top priority, something that we encourage a lot of these organizations to look at. So how do we spoke until now, the challenges, the problem, the risk, and what are the issues you're looking at. What does good look like? How do you approach this, right? So one of the things, and we're sharing more from an IBM learning standpoint, one of the first things that we did is when we look at the use cases, we created security patterns. So the security pattern is essentially, how do you secure a customer service chatbot within an organization if you're looking at that? And that security pattern, once you develop the security pattern, you basically then have a way of controlling and securing these different AI instances within the organization, right? So that would be the first one. It's very, a technical architecture, a technical guardrail element of it, but it's very important. So guardrail is an interesting word that's being used. It basically means that how AI is being consumed and what are the boundaries there are and what security controls that needs to be there. Now, if you look at it, the security controls in AI are new. Most of your current enterprise security capabilities, unfortunately, are not AI aligned. By that, what we mean is all the new threat vectors that AI brings to the table, you need a new capability, an enterprise level AI security capability for you to make the protection, right? So that's part of your AI security patterns. You can develop the pattern. And then you got to, come up with the AI governance framework. So by this, what we mean is a lot of organizations have looked at AI governance in a broader sense, not just security, looking at explainability, ethics, and all the other things that needs to be done. The European organization have some very, very specific prescriptive requirements. Now in the UK, it's not that prescriptive, but it's good to learn and understand how other countries are looked at it. The governance is very important to also understand that a lot of pre-prepared models and services available in the market, is that a right fit for your organization, right? So these are questions that are beyond security. What guidance you're going to give to your employees, what ChatGPT or what publicly available AI they can use. What does the use of that mean? Also, when you are bringing some new vertical use cases, in this case, AI projects, you got to evaluate from a security standpoint, but you also need to evaluate from a business standpoint. Is this the right AI, model, or is this the hyperscaler AI sovereignty, and so on? What security is already built in and capabilities and so on? And does it fit in with your overall enterprise strategy and so on? So the governance is much broader. Obviously, we are looking to only look at it from a security standpoint. Whatever AI governance an organization using, our view is security should be part of it. Don't try to do security outside AI governance. Make it embedded, within the wider AI governance, because security should go hand in hand with all the other AI governance elements of it. And also, there are some other elements to consider. Is you got to have some playbooks, incident response capabilities as for AI, which is slightly different, especially with agentic AI, right? So if you have an agent that is, let's say, in identity and access management, it is fulfilling a specific request. Somebody makes a request to a chatbot, and that IAM agent is going to go and create this control. What if that agent misbehaves or is not following guidelines? Or what if somebody is able to breach? What does your incident response plan look like? How are you going to respond to an incident when an agent is being compromised or it's doing something else? You need to have a capability to either kill the agent or stop the agent. It's easy to say it in verbally, but you got to execute and operationalize this, right? So some of these things need to be considered, because you cannot leverage your existing incident management security operation process. You got to enhance it to support how AI is being developed or consumed within the business, right? And then finally, the security operating model. So this is also interesting, right? So IBM is, and I think Palo is also into it. We, as much as we are also looking at securing AI, we also are pioneering in the use of AI for cybersecurity, right? So we know this is also something that a lot of clients are interested. They're looking to use AI in security operations, in SOC, or in identity access management, any number of fields of AI. How do you bring that capability into it? What kind of teams do you need? What kind of new additional skills and new roles you need in order to support the infusion of AI within the business? And that applies to also securing AI element of it. So I think your teams need to understand the AI landscape. They need to understand the security implication, the new threats capability, but they also need to have a capability to have visibility of what the new AI instances are doing, how they're being managed, what the threat vectors are. And controlling and managing that is a very essential part of it. And you need that new capability side of things. So this is sort of kind of giving you a snapshot of how we're approaching this. And this is a snapshot of when we're deploying it for a large investment management company, where they've said that, look, we kind of lost the battle. That's the exact word that the CISO used. We kind of lost the battle on AI, and we got to bring it back into control. I think the business is, so much, in love with AI. They want to do AI with everything, but they also realize it's not a simple, easy thing. But it's time for us to bring it back into control, bring it back into mainstream. It's no more an experiment sort of thing, right? So, I mean, again, we, learned, some interesting element of, doing that work for that investment bank. This is essentially what I would say is what good looks like. And we're not saying that this is the only way to do it, but this is one of the things that, we've started approaching for our clients. So I think we talked about what good looks like. I just want to take the opportunity to talk about the IBM Consulting and Palo Alto partnership. So I think this is a very unique partnership in the industry. There isn't a lot of unique partnerships like this, where you have a consulting organization and a technology organization sort of collaborating, and actually being very open about, look, this is the way we're going to solve the problem. Here are the things we're going to help our clients benefit. And I think if you look at the AI itself, it's very interesting. I'm sure every other technology vendor is using AI to improve their own products and leverage AI to significantly do things better with AI. In the IBM Palo Alto partnership, what we are actually doing is IBM's building AI for using within our services itself, right? So we have a specific AI agents and assets that we use with that supplement our existing consulting services. But we're bringing that AI together with Palo's AI capability. The benefit for clients is you now have a very unique capability where you got the services consulting element that comes into play, but you're also bringing the AI, the best of AI from a technology side of things, right? So that's the kind of approach we're doing. But part of that is also, we've sort of very publicly shared, what are the problems that we, as a partnership, what does this partnership mean for our customers? Here are the sort of what we call as joint value proposition, or 5 campaigns as the way we defined it. And this is all publicly available and published everywhere, right? So every IBM Palo, conversation you're going to have, we're going to talk about this. So of the 5, security for AI is one of them, right? So this is the 5 areas where IBM Consulting and Palo Alto are jointly working together and actually building unique capabilities and partnership that ultimately benefits our customers, right? That's essentially what the whole purpose of us trying to do. And you could pretty much see why these 5, but this is the 5 that we feel there is value in it. The quantum safe stuff that Scott is going to talk about sits actually in the network security modernization, and you'll hear more about how our partnership is helping customers help navigate that very, very unique challenge. So this is not a simple, one thing I just want to say is, this is not a simple thing as we provide services on a Palo Alto platform. It's a lot more than that. We are actually building capabilities that leverages the best of the platform, but also brings the best of IBM consulting services in there. So I think it's good to look at it from that standpoint. Now, what this means from a securing AI from business standpoint is IBM Consulting has got a security for AI practice, which I lead, but we are also collaborating with Palo Alto's Prisma AIRS platform, as an example. And our view is, if you look at the areas that I touched on earlier, AI is everywhere, and it's going to be across the enterprise everywhere. Our message to our CISOs, our clients, is approach as an enterprise AI security transformation. Do not go after securing one use case after another use case and so on. Look at it more holistically, look at it very broadly. You need an enterprise AI capability, because whether you like it or not, your business are going to keep consuming more and more AI. And tomorrow there's going to be agentic, there's autonomous, and who knows what's going to come 6 months down the line. There's going to be something new. Don't wait for finding something else to fix a particular thing. This is a today, now problem, and also needs to be looked at as an enterprise AI capability. So our approach is going to be more towards that. So we're building capabilities. One is to discover and govern AI assets, irrespective of where the AI is used, whether it's vertical use cases, business, or if it is horizontal use cases. We're bringing a capability that gives you visibility and ability to govern them to your risk appetite, the way you would like to do it. But at the same time, give enough flexibility for your business to be able to innovate and operate and consume whatever the latest AI they want. But do AI or innovate with AI, but with security, right? So, and I think you will hear more from James McGee about the Prisma AIRS platform, how we're bringing in. One of the things that IBM also has done is that you may have heard about the watsonx governance platform, it's the IBM platform. So I touched about the AI governance. So one of our point of view is security on AI shouldn't be just an isolated activity. It needs to be aligned with the broader AI governance. When an organization make decisions, be it the CDO or the CAIO or the CISO, you look at it broadly from all of these elements, not just either just as a security event or just as AI governance or ethical issue. You got to look at it broadly. So that's the kind of visibility we bring in, which helps easier decision making and easier governance for you to be able to drive this topic forward. And these are some of the elements that we're bringing to the table. So I talked about what IBM Consulting brings into the thing. One of the things that we've developed, IBM's, I'm sure that's been public news for you. We've been leveraging AI internally for our own business processes. For example, our HR function, we have a chatbot called Ask HR. 60-70% of our HR typical BAU requests are done by the chatbot entirely, right? And it's a 4-year journey that it's taken us to reach that level where, it's a very well, we call it a client zero story. It's a very well used, publicly available information about how IBM transformed our business using this. One of the fascinating things is that, I talked about the business guardrails and jailbreaking, how we, strengthened this asset to be able to make it one trust for it to do an end-to-end completion of an HR task, as an example. HR, to a certain extent, BAU is not that sensitive, but a lot of stuff on HR is sensitive, if you know what I mean. It deals with people. And IBM is across 170 countries. And I would say we got 150 regulations to comply with. So we have a lot of responsibility and accountability in regarding protecting our own employees' data and information. But it took some time for us to understand and trust that capability on that. By what we've done is we built a set of guardrails that we know that has been battle tested, proven, and it helps us, strengthen and make it industrial strength to enable our 300,000 employees globally to use that asset. So those learnings and those guardrails that we bring that forward as part of a consulting success to help our clients. Don't start from scratch. There's a lot of AI security platforms available today, governance and frameworks available today. There's one from Nest, there is OWASP top 10, and then there is AWS and Google, and everybody has it. But what we bring here is a crystallized, synthesized element of the guardrail that has been proven and tested. We're not saying that's the only thing you need, but it sets you on a very strong foundation from day one, right? I'm just giving an example of one of the things that we can bring to the table. Because we've been doing it over 4 years, we've learned our lessons, we've improvised and strengthened and so on, right? So I think that's one of the other things we are able to bring forward. And also in certain cases, we're also bringing AI itself to speed up what we normally do in as part of our services business. And we are leveraging AI as much as we can in our delivery side of things, where it speeds up, it accelerates, improves the discovery. In some cases, when you discover AI in its AI instance, and if that is not compliant, you could actually disable, or you can flag it out and unblock the AI as an example, right? So it's auto remediation capabilities and so on. Just giving you a sort of an insight into how we're collaborating and bringing the partnership for our business. So where do you get started? Okay, I've heard the story from IBM. It sounds very interesting. Come and tell us, what does our AI look like, right? So we have crafted this, what we call as a 2-week rapid AI security assessment. So what this does is we do a combination of two things. One is we first come and do a technical assessment. We do a targeted scan of your landscape, your IT landscape. It could be hyperscalers, could be on-premise and so on, and actually build out, what does your AI inventory look like? How is AI being used? What models are being used? What applications are being used? What does that mean? What are the vulnerabilities that are published on those models and agents? What security risk you have? What data it has access to, and so on. That's the first technical review and assessment. At the same time, we also do a governance review. Do you have the right policies in place? We talk to your stakeholders, and do you have the right people? Do you have the right capabilities? What does your policy say, and what are your standards and capabilities provide that? So we bring that together in a 2 weeks' time to give you a view of your current risks and potentially exposure as a result of the kind of AI that's being deployed, but at the same time, your gaps in capabilities across governance, across your technical gaps in terms of how you're operationally managing your AI. So that kind of gives, and we provide with a roadmap, right? We basically say, look, here is how you can address it. You can start fixing your tactical risk that you find, but at the same time, we'll also give you a roadmap where you can deploy and drive a program and implement the solution. So, I mean, it's done agnostically. It's not like it is all IBM and Palo. We provide that roadmap in a way that you can pick that up and look at it from. But our perspective is about enterprise AI transformation. Don't look at it as one use case, or I only need to solve this problem. Look at it holistically, because the security leadership should have that responsibility to make sure that you have the opportunity to fix it now, and you're able to support business in whatever AI journey they're going to go tomorrow. But at the same time, not expose the business to any undue risk or a data leakage or a data breach kind of scenario, right? So that's what we provide. And if you need more details, we're very happy to share that. It's something that we've been helping a lot of our clients with. So I think that's what I would like to leave you with, and then open up for the next session.
Thanks, Dinesh. If you're interested in one of our AI rapid assessments, please get in touch. There should be a form on the landing page.